All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Field Service Live. I'm your host, James Leichter. Tonight we're going to be talking about managing employees during COVID and beyond. So we'll be talking a little bit about how to deal with the COVID situation, but we'll spend a lot of time talking about managing your coworkers beyond the end of this thing, hopefully. I'm really excited to have the guest that I have on tonight. Oh, let me fix this guy here. There we go. Fixed. I'm really excited to have my guest. It's not you. I'm talking about somebody else next.
I knew it.
Talking about somebody else next week. No, we're excited to have you on too. I'm excited to have my guest on tonight, Susan Leichter. She is a registered nurse. She has a master's degree in human resource management, and so she's a perfect person to talk about COVID and managing people during COVID and beyond. Welcome, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show, James.
Oh, you're welcome. Couldn't get anyone else on.
I know.
So.
That was why you called me like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I'm glad you were in the parking lot.
I was getting ready to leave, and I'm glad that I actually got the call that you were offering so much money for me to be on the show tonight.
You're going to get a coffee cup if you're lucky.
Field Service Live one, I'm hoping.
Please hit the subscribe button, if you would, please, and like the video, if you would, because it tells YouTube to pay more attention to us, that we're worthwhile. So we would really appreciate that. Tonight, we're going to talk about managing your staff during COVID and beyond, as you know. And I guess the first thing on my mind is I hear all about the great resignation and so on and so forth. I know it's hard to hire people. It always is. But the great resignation, I hear about that. Is that even real? Is that really a thing?
Absolutely. So I think that what you're asking is, do we have to worry? Right?
Yeah.
People are resigning. People are you're having a harder time getting staff, keeping staff, and that is a true thing that is happening. That's a phenomenon that we're all having to deal with in each of our occupations. Last year alone, over half of the employees looked for another job. Half of them. Over half. This year, it's estimated that 2/3 of employees will be looking for another job. So 2/3 of your employees are going to be out there in 2022 looking around, and they want a job. And the job's not with you.
Well, what are they looking for?
Number one reason that people are leaving is career progression. They want to know that they're going to go somewhere. They want to know that they're not working in a dead-end job. They want to be able to grow in the position that they're at, to be able to learn more. They want to be trained, and they want to know if promotions are in their department, that they're up and eligible for that promotion.
Now, I've always heard that people leave for reasons other than money most of the time. Is that your understanding?
It is true. Actually, the number one reason that people stay with a job is going to be work-life balance. So the more things that you can do to allow them to be with their families, to be able to be at the important events, to be able to go home whenever the kids are sick, or maybe work from home whenever they need to, there's more need for that now.
It's easy to take that for granted. If you're an owner like I am of a business, we have a lot of flexibility. We work really hard, but we have a lot of flexibility. When push comes to shove, we can go to the ball game and see our kids pitch and do those things. So I can understand how that's important, work-life balance. So you're saying that's letting people have time off when they need time off, when they want time off. What else does that involve?
That means that if you have a salaried employee, you're not working them 70 hours a week. You're actually allowing them to be able to, sometimes people want to be working from home too. So some people have started, since we've got the pandemic, people are starting to work at home. They've been forced to work at home, and they're liking it. They're saving money. There's less gas bills. There's not they're not having to worry about a 2-hour drive, back there and back each day. They are able to work in their own environment. It's a quiet environment. It's uninterrupted a lot of the times. And that's what they're looking for.
Well, there's no substitute for working at home. It's hard to beat that. But some of us like coming to the office. It feels more serious. Why pay a salary if you can't work them 70 hours a week? That's why you give somebody a salary, isn't it?
I don't know. It's I wouldn't let too many people hear you say that too loud.
Especially my salaried people.
Yeah, that's right.
Who better be working right now.
It used to be, especially in the food service industry, it used to be that when you got a salaried position, you were expected to work 70 hours a week, 65 hours a week. But now with the demand with so many people looking for employees, you can't do that. You have to actually be able to pay them. But then again, there's also laws that say that you have to be able to pay a certain amount also, or in addition to that.
Yeah, I hate those laws.
Yeah, those laws suck.
Those are killers.
Sometimes we have to follow those laws.
It's like I think to myself, who's paying minimum wage now? It's like, seriously, I don't know anybody that's paying minimum wage. I'm sure it happens somewhere, but you just can't pay people minimum wage. They want to make a lot more than that.
Well, and if you want to keep those employees, you can't pay them minimum wage. When you talk about work-life balance, you're also talking about the ability to pay for that work-life balance. So, for instance, maybe you want to have a one-income household, and you want to be able to raise your kids and be able to stay at home, have them stay at home, have the mother or father, either one, stay at home with the children. That's an important thing, and that's part of work-life balance. Sometimes people want to do that, and as a company, you need to be able to, or you need to be paying them a livable wage.
Yeah. So I want to talk about where to find people or how to find new employees, because I'm asked about all that. I'm asked about that all the time. But before we do that, we probably ought to talk about how to keep the ones we have. So what ideas can you give us on keeping the people we have? Now, I'm thinking, why do they leave? So what can we do to keep them?
I think especially, it depends on what industry that you're talking about, but there's some key important things that you have to do to retain your staff. One of those, communication. You have to be able to communicate with your staff. This is a scary place. It's a scary environment that we're living in right now. We're dealing with COVID-19. We're dealing with, diseases that can kill you, your hospitalizations. You're afraid to come to work. You're afraid to leave the house. And so you have to show employees, you need to improve communication by showing, number one, that employees are appreciated. You need to let them know, we appreciate the fact that you're coming into work, or you're working from home and you're still doing a dang good job. We want to give verbal praise. We want to give appreciation programs. We also want to keep employees informed. By doing that, we want to have regular company meetings. In addition to that, you want to celebrate the victories, and you want to ask for help whenever whenever you have a failure with your company. So being open and honest with your employees is extremely important. And when you do have issues in your company, you want to ask your employees, what kind of ideas do they have? What can they actually let you know? What kind of feedback are they going to give you that you can actually implement into your company? And when they do give feedback, implement that. Use it. Let them know that it's just not something you're going to throw into the trash can, and you're not ever going to be thinking about it again once you listen to it. I mean, you may do that, James. But
like the suggestion box I've never looked inside of.
Right.
I don't even know if there's anything in there.
Yeah, and I don't know how many companies actually have a suggestion box now. It's more of a electronic suggestion box is usually the way that it's storing right now. But you do need to get regular feedback, because in order for them to feel like they're valued and they're a part of a company, employees need to be able to have a say-so in it.
You mentioned company meetings. How often should a company have a company meeting? And I take it you meant company-wide, everybody.
I do mean company-wide meetings. You should be having a company-wide meeting at least once a month. So monthly, you should be having it. Now, I'm sure you're thinking there, how can I do that? How can I have everybody in a company meeting?
Yeah, who's got time for that?
Yeah, who's got time for that? But with all of the Zoom and Skype and the ability to record these meetings, you can have the meetings pre-recorded for a portion of them. But in addition to that, you can tell people what time it is and tell them to be on it, be on Skype at the such and such meeting, and give them the time, the date. They're able to attend it, and if they can't attend it, you record it. And you send that in a mass email to all of your employees and ask them to watch it later on.
The ones who couldn't attend.
Right. The slackers.
I gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So once a month, I don't know if it varies by company size, but how long should a company meeting last?
A company meeting should not be anywhere or anymore. They should not be longer than 60 minutes. 1 hour is your cutoff time. You're going to lose their attention. They're going to be wanting to do something else. They're going to be looking at their watches. They're not listening to the important parts of it. So 1 hour cutoff. I know you might have a problem with that, James.
What were you saying again?
Right.
I lost you a minute ago.
Exactly.
I was too busy looking at my watch.
Now, in addition to those company meetings, you also need to be having communication with the employee about how they're doing. So what that means is you're going to need to be having one-on-one meetings with your staff. And I know that sounds really difficult too.
Oh, yeah.
A one-on-one meeting.
That gives them a chance to criticize me.
Right. So those one-on-one meetings, they should be about an hour long. And in those one-on-one meetings, they should be every 2 weeks. So an hour long, every 2 weeks with every single employee. So now, how do you do that? I wouldn't be asking the owner of the company to be meeting with every single employee, but you have a organization chart. And anybody that's under you in the organization chart, then that's who you should be meeting with for every other week.
Okay. So I was answering a question online today about when to hire a service manager, and one rule of thumb that I've always lived by and many of my clients have, and that's about 5 or 6 staff members should have one manager. Or another way to look at it is a department manager can really only handle about 5 or 6 people. So I guess they're going to be doing 5 or 6 1-hour meetings every 2 weeks.
Right.
I guess they could handle that.
Yeah, that's not too much.
That's not too bad.
But in those meetings, you're going to be doing several things. The first thing that you're doing in those meetings is you're going to be giving praise. So that's your opportunity for you to have that one-on-one and say, "Hey, you did a great job on this. You went in, you did a really good job with the new install. The woman called back. She said that you did great. Ask if you could come back and do something else." So you want to talk about what they did well, and then you're going to also talk about what they can improve on. But you always want to praise. You want to have 3-to-1 on praise versus something negative.
During that hour, when would I get to start complaining about them?
You would never complain about them. At no point, James, would you get to complain about your employees unless you want to be part of that 60 some odd percent that is got their employees looking for someone else.
Well, so far I'm not doing anything right.
Yeah, you're not, but that's okay. You can fix that.
But I've taken notes.
Yeah, you can fix that. So with those employee meetings, in addition to talking about what they're doing right, and then talking about what they can improve on, then you're also wanting feedback. You're asking them, what can you do better? And you're looking at that, you're taking that feedback and you're actually trying to improve the company, improve your interactions, and you are listening. And that is going to build a relationship with your employee.
Right. During that 1-hour meeting.
Right. Every 2 weeks, 1-hour meeting.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I agree with you. It's moments like that where you build camaraderie and there's a bond and you take them seriously, and you will get good ideas if you listen. I mean, many times you have to sort through some ideas that aren't so great, but that's true with all of us. So I do think that's good advice. Besides the company meeting, and the one-on-ones where I don't get to complain about people. What other things can we do to keep our people?
Well, in addition to having those meetings, you need to evaluate them. So all of the or the majority of employees are saying, I want to know how I'm doing. I want to be evaluated. And so that starts from the very beginning, that first week that you have an employee there. How do you should meet at the end of the week and say, hey, you would meet at the end of the day, the first day. Then you'd meet at the end of the week and say, hey, you did great on this. You're doing really well. Do you have questions? Do you have all of the tools? That first day that you meet with them, you're asking, do you have all of the tools that you need to do your job? And that's really important for an employer to make sure that they have the tools to do the job that you're expecting them to do.
Okay. So a new hire, I heard you say at the end of the first day, end of the week, that makes sense. Once you get through that initial stage, how often should you be conducting employee reviews?
So you would be doing a 90-day review when you first hire an individual.
That's your first formal, thorough review.
First formal, thorough review.
And that's when you decide if they're staying or going. This is working out for both of us.
That's working out for both of them. Remember, a 90-day review, it's not only for you to determine if you want the employee to stay with you. It's a time for them to determine, are you the right fit? Are you the right company? Do they like your values? Are your values something that they can live with?
I would agree. 90 days. I think in many cases we could do it in 30 even, but
Right.
90 days is a traditional number.
After that, traditionally, you would do an annual review, and you would do a very thorough annual review, lots of paperwork with it. There would end up being, you would talk to the individuals, let them know, but people are wanting to know more. They want to know quicker. How am I doing? I don't want to know at the end of the year how I did for that year, and then you're going to give me a raise based on that performance. I want to know at the end of a quarter. So every quarter, every 90 days, you should be reviewing that individual. And that could be a smaller review. You can have a smaller review process during the quarterly reviews, and then you could have a large annual review, or you could just have a quarterly review. But everybody wants to know how they're doing, especially our younger generation. As they're coming in, people refer to them as the millennials. They're actually replacing a lot of the older generation. And they come in, the older generation, they're used to that 1 year. Okay, I'll get my 1 year, I'll get my annual 1% raise, and I'll be fine with that. But our new guys, our new people, they're excited about their job. They want to know that they're making a difference. And they can't know that they're making a difference unless you're meeting with them on a regular basis.
We talked about that before. Isn't that the key to the younger generation? They want to know they're part of something bigger than themselves, that they're making a difference. And how are they going to know that if they're not hearing it from the boss, from the president, from the founder?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned we're meeting with them every 2 weeks anyway, right? So every
Yes.
2 weeks we're meeting with them. That gives them a chance to talk to us about any problems they might be having. One of my favorite books, and I would highly recommend this book, it's called High Output Management, written by Andy Grove. He's not a contractor, Andy Grove. He is the past CEO of Intel. They hired him when they had 3 employees. He left when they had 104,000 employees.
Wow.
He talks a lot about that weekly meeting. He believed in once a week for an hour. But he said that you should always expect the bombshells during the last
end.
5 minutes. So he'd say, put on your calendar 90 minutes, but tell everybody it's 60 minutes, because at the 55-minute mark, that's when you hear the most important part of the whole meeting. But I would recommend highly that you consider investing in that book. It will teach you a lot about conducting those one-on-one meetings, which I think are so important.
Absolutely. That's a good read. It's an easy read. That's something that I think a lot of people can get good information out of.
What else do you have? We've talked about the meetings, the recognition. Are there any small things that we can do that wouldn't cost us a lot of money that might help retain our good people?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And especially, when you're thinking about these small things or thinking about how to retain people, when you're thinking about that retention, then I'm sorry, I actually had my phone here because I want to read a text message here in a few minutes from someone, and I was getting a phone call, so I apologize.
I think that's your agent wanting more money.
It is. He's wanting a lot more money, saying, this place is kind of boring. I'm sorry, what was the question? I got completely distracted.
So the question was, what can we do besides all the meetings? What can we do to help retain our good people that won't cost us an arm and a leg?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do. I am a firm believer in food. Food makes people happy. So, but we also have, a variety of people, what type of foods that you like.
Right.
But so one of the main things that you can do, easy thing. So most of service techs are probably what we're talking about. And a lot of the service techs are coming in the mornings and they're having their truck restocked, and then they have their meeting and then they leave. Mm-hmm. Well, why not have donuts and coffee for them, and maybe some fresh fruit? Bananas are super cheap. Have that available for them during that meeting, because whenever you're snacking, you're happier and you can't complain as much. Then, in addition to that, I expected you to laugh on that, but you really didn't.
No, I kept thinking, sorry, I'm sure it was funny if I heard it. But I'm thinking unbillable time. I'm thinking, oh, my God, they're eating donuts and having coffee, and they're messing with the CSR schedule.
But they're getting training at the same time.
And I need to get them out of there so they can bill, because if they're not billing, they're chilling.
Absolutely. Another good idea, and this could be done by a small company, large company. Our company, the one that I work for, we actually give a sheet that we have people fill out on their first day of employment with our company, and we ask them the things that they like. What are their favorite teams? What are their favorite colors? What are their favorite drinks? What are their favorite snacks? And based off of that form, we buy them gifts for their birthday and for their anniversary.
Good idea.
And you could do that. I know that a lot of these people you're talking about have a service truck. They're going away on the service truck. So you can still get that gift, and you can put it on their seat whenever they're going in to get the truck restocked. They come back, they've got a happy anniversary gift there. They've got a happy birthday gift. You can also do things like decorate the truck. I know you usually decorate your office, a balloon or flowers or something for the people in the office, but what do you do for those people that aren't in the office? Well, you don't take a big can of spray paint and spray paint it on the truck, but you could write with chalk paint on the windows, "Happy birthday, Bob. Honk, it's Bob's birthday." You could do things like that.
Dry erase markers, right on the side of the truck, "Happy birthday, happy anniversary." That's cool.
Absolutely. And then that way they know that they're valued. They know that you're thinking about them. You keep an ongoing list of when these special occasions are for them. Make a big deal out of them, because they are important. They are a big deal.
Yeah. Well, everyone's a big deal, but service technicians sometimes think they're the biggest deal.
Yeah,
But hey, as a former service technician, I was the deal.
So another thing with the service techs is a lot of times these are the people that actually have to work during the holidays. They're the ones that have to work late at night. They get called in. They're on call. Why not do a breakfast bag? A breakfast bag is so easy. You can, get a brown paper bag, buy a bunch of those, throw water, some fruit, some type of a cereal bar, and maybe a muffin in there. And then
seems like
put that
punishment.
in their seat.
That seems like punishment. A cereal bar, water, maybe a muffin.
It may be punishment for you, but these guys have really, sometimes they have to get in really early in the mornings for those meetings.
If you really dislike them, maybe some applesauce.
Yeah, and without a spoon.
How about a bag of McDonald's breakfast sandwiches instead of the prison food?
Yeah,
that's right. No prison food. I don't know if you heard that, but
yeah,
our engineer was saying McDonald's food, not prison food.
Right. Do McDonald's breakfast sandwiches. Get a whole bag of them. Put them out on the table, and as they're walking out, let them pick up a sandwich.
No, I like that idea, because then they're out billing. They take that food with them and they get out there. It's true with service technicians. They're out in the field. They're not in the office. They're not having some of the fun we have in the office, and it's easy for them to feel as if they're not part of the organization. And then they start feeling like they're part of a hybrid organization, the field, the techs,
yes,
separate from the rest of us. I think that it's really important to somehow get them into the system.
Right. Also, birthday cakes. You could have a employee break room, and once a month celebrate that monthly birthday. So this is February. Everybody's birthday that was in February, you'd buy, go to Costco, go to Sam's, buy a great big sheet cake, and those things you can get for $20. They're really cheap, and then say, look, we're going to celebrate everybody's birthday.
Okay.
And you could have a cake there where people can come in, put on the wall whose birthday it is, or on a balloon or whatever it is, sing happy birthday over your monthly meeting. Recognize it when you're having your monthly meeting. You could have an HR slide that says whose birthday and whose anniversary it is and what day they are.
I got you. So it's the cake's for everybody. So it could be 10 people,
right,
with birthdays in February, one cake, their names everywhere, and we celebrate their birthdays, maybe take an hour or so to do that.
Right.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Also, Post-it notes. Post-it notes are great. Get in the truck, in the vehicle. Just put a Post-it note.
Just a blank Post-it note.
Yeah, you might.
That's all I got to do.
You might put a happy face on it or something to that matter. But no, actually, write something good on it. I caught you restocking your own truck. I caught you. You did a great job yesterday with whatever it is that they did.
Okay.
So just look for things, and it shouldn't be too hard because we've got great employees. So look for things that they do right. Look for things that you enjoy, or that you can praise them for.
Now, earlier you mentioned a text. I'm just dying to hear about this text. So would you like to share that with us, or is that at the end of the show?
No. Actually, the text has to do with the beginning of the show when we talked about the fact that, people are ready to leave. And then with this pandemic, there's a lot of reasons that people are forces that are causing people to struggle right now. The pandemic is one of them. Mm-hmm. Then we also have the fact that there's a labor shortage. Now, this labor shortage is a big thing. We're looking at the baby boomers. That's a prime example of who's leaving right now. Our baby boomers are from...
I was going to say, you tell me. I'll get it wrong.
1946 to 1964. So that's an 18-year gap. So we've gotten into the baby boomers, and they're starting to retire. And that means that they're leaving the workforce. And the baby boomers are like the biggest group of workers that we have. And as they're leaving the workforce, we have to fill that with somebody. Someone else has to be coming in, and we don't have that trained staff for it right now. So, that's causing a labor shortage. Then we've got COVID happening. So people are afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go out into the public. They don't want to work. They don't want to work in the jobs that they were working in. They want to be safe. So that causes a labor shortage. And then we also have workplace burnout. So these people that are working in those jobs, they're working extra hours. They're more than likely not getting a raise for the job that they're still doing. Those people that are coming on, they're getting a higher wage. But the people that have already been there, a lot of times they're not being compensated. And so there's burnout. They've got stress at home from kids that maybe are being sent home from school, and they're not able to, the schools are being closed because of COVID. And so you have to worry about what's my kid doing while I'm at home. And that's stressor. Then you're worried about the actual health of your family, of yourself. Maybe it's of your dad, your grandpa, something to that matter. And that constant concern for safety, that causes a lot of tension. And this will result in burnout eventually with your employees.
Keep that thought. I want to address this question. How do you effectively talk to an employee about an area they need to improve in without putting them in a defensive mindset? Can you give an example?
Gosh, that's a difficult one. I think, first of all, you have to be open. You have to be open and honest. And if it comes from a good heart, then I think that people don't take offense as much. So you have good communication from the very beginning. So you're communicating with them. You're letting them know, hey, Bob, you did a good job. I like how I'm I'm struggling for an example here, but you would tell them that they'd done a good job. And when they didn't do something correctly, you're not wanting to berate them or anything to that matter. You just want to say, you just redirect. You should have done it this way, but that's not a big deal. I know that you'll fix it the next time. So, or if you're tardy, let's say that there's somebody that's late all the time. They've showed up the first day and they're late. You might make a joke out of it the very first day. Wow, first day, and here you are, you're late already. Maybe on the third day they have to go home for some reason, and you might go, okay, you're going home, but I just want to remind you, it's really important. We talked about how important it was for you to be at work, and it's this is not starting on the right foot. And take them, but don't do it in front of other people. You want to actually bring them in private, talk to them in private. And sometimes maybe it is something that they're being late and they're hitting traffic every day, and they leave earlier and they still hit something, and they try a new route and they're still hitting something. And maybe you say, well, let's just try to get a new route. Maybe I give you 15 minutes and we don't really worry about that. So you're building trust that you're not going to fire them. You're not going to reprimand them or yell at them in front of anyone else. And then with that trust, what happens is they're more willing to listen to what you have to say. And it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise whenever you talk to them about something.
So I'm getting back to your 2-week recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is, regarding his question is, well, only 2 weeks are going to go by, max,
right,
for you to address this. Yeah. And hopefully during each of those meetings, you've built some kind of connection, some kind of friendship, camaraderie, professional friendship, camaraderie.
Right.
That right there should make it a little easier to talk to them about those things.
And you've been asking them all along, is there anything that I can do to improve? So you're not just making it about them and how they have to improve on things, that employee, you're making it about you too. This is a give and take relationship that you need to be worrying about.
One thing I would suggest, Mark, is let's say they're late all the time. During the 2-week meeting, you might say, is there anything, Susan, that we can do to help you be on time?
Right.
More often.
Exactly.
And that's just a question, right?
And maybe it's that, I'm dropping my daughter off at daycare and the line is always just so long and I have to leave at that specific time and it just always seems to catch me.
Which is a true story.
Yeah.
That's a real story among a coworker.
So would 15 minutes help? Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong, in this day and age, change it. Change your 15 minutes. It's you own the company. If you're an owner, if you're the HR person, suggest it. Just suggest making little changes like that. Show that you are willing to work with them. That's the key, is to let employees know that you are willing to work with them, and then they don't take offense. And you come from, an open, honest relationship. You're not rude. You're not you're not berating them. You're just telling them facts and, give ways that they can improve themselves. Don't wait until the very end. Don't wait until you're ready to fire somebody to say, I'm not happy with your performance.
Hey, just a reminder, all of you, if you would please, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, consider liking the video. It tells YouTube to put us a little higher in their rating so people can find us. One other thing I'd like to add to Mark's question is, when you're having a situation with someone, ask yourself, is it behavioral, attitude related, or is it skill related? Mm-hmm. Because you approach those differently. If it's skill related, then you're offering training.
Right.
And you should be providing training. But you're saying, I noticed that you have more callbacks than any of the other technicians, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5%. I was just wondering what kind of training I could get you that might reduce that number. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And put it like that, rather than, 2.5% callback is unacceptable, Susan. I think you've read the policy manual, haven't you? I think it's better to offer the training. And if it's attitude, like late, or they don't wear their uniform properly, you might say, is there anything we can do to provide you with a better uniform or to get you looking better in your uniform, something like that. So behavior versus skill.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with that. So back to your question. So when you were talking about the text that I had, that I had from a friend, I was actually preparing for this and I was looking at these statistics and I'm thinking, wow, 50% of the people last year were looking for jobs. So all of these people that I'm sitting, I can, make contact with every, 1 out of 2, they're looking for a job. And I thought, well, then we're also working at home and you're having, this year it's on par to be even worse. You're looking at 60%. So I was looking at this, a text from my friend. I got it about 5:00 today. And she'd had a rough day. And it says, it kind of drives home this point that everybody's always looking and you don't know what's going to happen with it. And you need to be preparing. You need to take care of your employees. So the text was, I had several points today where I had to just stop and breathe because I felt like I couldn't. And this morning, I just had to stop and cry. We had good people leaving to take positions where they can stay remote. And 2 of my 3 favorite people might leave. I basically had a panic attack. I am hopeful that only 2 of them have actually decided not to leave, or I'm hopeful that 2 of them have actually decided not to leave. But I think one will. She has a job offer that she had to give an answer to before the end of the day. So that's a big thing. That's pretty, that tells everything. That says everything to me. So, just reading that, just thinking about that. This person, we talked about the stress, the concern and, burnout. You're looking at a team and they have a possibility of 3 people gone off of that team that they work with in, one day. This is one day. Yesterday, it wasn't there. Today, it is. And that's really tough for people to take. So, and you have to be looking at that as an employer. Oh my gosh, what if I have 3 people in one day come to me and say, I'm looking for another job? Yeah. If you're a small company, like a lot of the service industries, you may only have 5 techs, a smaller company, 10 techs. If you've got 3 out of those 5, that's over half of your staff, half of your techs that are gone. So you really have to be preparing before this happens. You need to build a culture with your company. You want to make them part of your family, part of your work family. You want to make them feel like they're important. You want to communicate with your employees. You want to listen. You want to listen and make changes based off of their feedback.
Susan.
But more importantly, you want to make sure that you have the tools that they need to do their job.
We hear a lot about culture. That culture word is used a lot. I think a lot of us don't really know what that means. What is a culture in a company?
The culture, and that's it is hard to define, but culture is basically what your company's rules are, your values, and how they treat their people. So the culture is, how things are in a company. How is your company run?
What are you all about?
What are you all about? Yeah, that's exactly it. And, culture, you should be answering those questions with I'm sorry, James, I'm losing my thought.
Culture. We're talking about culture.
I know we're talking about culture, but I was talking about when you're first orientating them, you should have
core values.
Core values that you're talking about. You introduce them to your core values. When you're interviewing, you should be talking about your core values. And those core values are things, if they're not if you're not following those core values, then they should not be a part of your company. So
boy, amen. I wrote an article called, I think it was titled Core Values, the Double-Edged Sword. And the thing that I really get frustrated with core values is so many companies come up with core values like they find them on the internet. Right. And they sound good, and they put their logo on it and patch it on the wall, but the owners don't live those core values.
Right.
Your core value is honesty, treating everybody with respect, and you see them out in public being rude to a server
Right.
or cheating on their taxes. The trouble with core values is you have to live them.
Right.
And if you're not ready to do that, don't put them on the wall anywhere.
And those core values, they are part of that culture. So the culture's, it's the people. It's how you respond to the people. It's how you treat the people. It's what you do for them, what they do for you, how you respond to your employees. That's all part of the culture that you're in. And that's in interviewing, I am asked almost every single time to, tell me about the culture of your company. Tell me about what you do for your employees. And culture, it's an interesting thing because, some people are looking for different types of culture. There are studies that show that animals in the workplace actually relieve stress. And so some companies now, it started a long time ago, you would see a service industry, HVAC company, they'd have a cat in the back room. Mm-hmm. The cat gets the mice. So we have those. But now it's become, smaller companies and even big companies, they're inviting people to bring their animals in whenever they're dropping off their taxes or doing that. But then employees are also able to bring their animals in as long as they're not mean, they're not vicious. Bring a pet to work day. That happens. And then there's office pets. There are companies now that have different office pets. It can be a bird. It can be it could be a dog, it could be a cat. And those are the animals that go around and people pick them up, they pet them. You can just watch a lot of times when people like animals, you can see the stress just melt off of them whenever they pick up an animal.
A lot of these things deal with the office only, and the techs don't get to take advantage of it. By techs, I mean demand service, installers, plumbers, electricians. But you know what? Why not let a tech ride around in the truck with his dog?
Right.
I mean, why not?
That doesn't hurt anything.
I don't know how that would hurt anything. I'm an animal lover, so it's easier for me to say, but what harm would it be if I had a dog that doesn't harm people riding in my truck? I think that morale would be increased a lot, and maybe that person, I'm thinking about that text, maybe that person wouldn't get that from the next job. They'd say, no, we don't allow you to ride around with your dog in our truck, and he might stay with you when he otherwise would leave.
Right, and also maybe it's things like just going to an event that your child has. I know that COVID has changed that a lot right now, but whenever I was a single mother, and I was actually working as a registered nurse in a hospital, and there was a point where I was telling people every day they had cancer, and I didn't know how to answer the questions. And so I wanted a different job, and I was offered a position that was, it was actually just a bookkeeping position. And I was offered that position at the company, and it was a $20,000 pay decrease. But I was going to be able to go see my son's events. I was going to see his choir concerts. I was going to be able to go see his plays, to be able to do those things during the day that was important to me. And so I didn't have that stress for that job.
That wasn't, you didn't say it was a $2 an hour decrease. You said $20,000 less per year.
Per year.
But that allowed you to go to your son's events.
And to be there.
To be there, and you only get one chance at that, right?
And I appreciated that company, and I took that job, and I did the best job that I could for that company in exchange for the things, the concessions that they gave me. And within a year, I had made up that $20,000 in salary by being promoted to a different position.
And I think with service techs, we tend to think, well, we can't do that with a service tech because it's all about gross profit dollars per person day and billable time and unbillable time ratio. But I think that when a service tech has an event that they want to go to, like their kids' choir, you schedule it just like you would a service call. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't accommodate them, they may not stay.
Yeah. And another thing that, so just going to a different topic here, jumping a little bit, another thing that service techs need, all people need, I talked about, how I switched that job and then I ended up going to a better job or did something differently. a challenge. Everybody wants a challenge. Me, I'm a type A personality. I'm a high energy, and I want to beat everyone else. So, why not have for your service techs, you could have like you could have a callback chart, and whoever gets the least amount of callbacks during the week gets it could be something like a gift card for their some type of a fast food place. Or you could do whoever does the most jobs during the week, or the most hours on jobs during the week.
Maybe sold the most service
agreements. That's right.
Sold the most service.
And then you could make it a prize like a new tool. Maybe it's a tool that they enjoy, or you can also give PTO time. But a lot of our companies, we're trying to save money on it, and a tool or a gift card's a lot easier than a PTO that's on there consistently.
Most contractors I know, they're not afraid of the cost of PTO. They worry about the fact that they're taking time off and can't run service calls. I mean, most of the contractors I'm dealing with and talking to, they're swamped.
Yes.
I mean, they are swamped.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I'm sorry, you did. Yeah.
One comment I saw that I really liked is from Bryant. Our office cat got a taste of my burrito today. There's the danger of an office cat.
There is. I've heard that office cat has gotten a lot of food lately.
Tried to eat that burrito, might have eaten part of it and said, that's not very good.
Uh-huh.
So Terry says, love the bring your pet to work idea. The whole office loved when I used to bring in my massive John Henry. That's about a 180-pound dog or something.
Oh, I remember that dog. I remember the boss at the time chased that dog one time. That 180-pound dog got chased around the building, and he was yelping and running for his dad and saying, Terry, help me, Dad, Dad.
Full disclosure here. Terry, love you. Happy birthday. We used to work together, and he would bring in his dog, and this thing wasn't really a dog. It was more like a small bear.
Absolutely.
And
it was a huge dog.
And it was intimidating, too. And then one day I just ran after him and just chased him. And he looked at me and ran down the hall, ran away, ran through the building, looking for Dad.
Yes.
That crazy man's after me.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Good comment, Terry. Thank you.
I agree. It's good to see you, Terry.
So we talked a lot about how to keep people. I think we need to also talk a little bit about where to find people. Everybody asks me, where can I find technicians, employees of any kind? And, there's no secret. If I had a secret, I'd be selling that secret on TV or something. But I think there's a few things we can do that maybe others aren't thinking about, or maybe they're not willing to do. I would say, let me start you off. I would say, if you're looking for new people, why don't you advertise some of the things that we've talked about tonight? Like, we will recognize your personal life. We want you to see your kids' choir event, and we want you to go to the daycare, and we want you to see the preschool graduation. I saw my kids graduate from preschool. Yeah. We'll let you bring your pet to work if we can accommodate it. If you're a technician, you can ride around with your dog. What else can we do?
In addition to that, I think when you're advertising, the number one thing is word of mouth. So some of my best employees that I've gotten is word of mouth from my other employees. I ask, do you know of anybody that would be great here that you'd like to work with? Is there somebody that I should be interviewing? Do you know someone that would do a good job? So not only asking my employees, and when you ask your employees, give them a bonus. If you hire someone and they've been referred to you from another employee, you give them a bonus. And don't make it a $10 bonus. Give them a $100 bonus. $100 sounds pretty darn good if you're, hey, Bob, come on over.
Look, if they stay 3 months, make it $1,000.
Yeah, make it $1,000, because once you have that 3 months, if they're past that 3-month time period, most people, you want to get rid of someone. If they're not working out, get rid of them within 90 days. Yeah. So if they've made it through that time, well, $1,000, that's cheap. Because if you're having to pay to advertise to try to get somebody, it's going to cost you a lot more than that. But, I would say word of mouth, but then also organizations that you're members of, or if you know a neighbor, neighbor that works in the same industry, somebody that works in the same industry, you can ask around and say, hey, do you know somebody that might be good here? I'm looking for, this type of person. So also, just walking around, a lot of times now in this industry, we're actually having to train our people. We're not getting pre-trained people.
Right.
We have to be looking outside the box, and we're having to do more training of our own, and we're starting with nothing. So when you go out to eat and you have that really good waiter every time, and every time you're getting everything exactly right, and they're friendly, and they have a good skill set, why not ask them to see if they're interested in a position? Say, hey, I've got a job. Would you be interested? Hand out your business card. Carry your business card everywhere that you go. And that way, if you have somebody that's an exceptional server or someone that does an exceptional job, that's very quick, that's very polite. My brother, he works for a glass company, and he's meticulous in everything that he does. And he would be great for any other type of service industry. And if I were, if I were in the HVAC and he came and repaired my glass, I'd be like, hey, you're looking for a job? If you ever considered anything else? Because he would be a good employee for someone else.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is you can't train for that.
Right.
So go find the stuff you can't train for and then train for the rest. And I agree with you. In the good old days, we used to be able to hire people that had skill. Heck, you could even threaten them. You quit doing this or you'll lose your job. And they cared. Yes. But it's not like that anymore. And it's tougher with every generation. So I think it's like, go find people that have that skill set you can't train for, like a great personality, work ethic, etc. They can handle pressure, and then be ready to train them.
Right. And our company likes things. So once you're looking at, or when you're looking at people, we like people that have grit. Something that's called grit. And grit just means that they've been through something difficult in their life, and they have made it through that, and they're succeeding. So despite anything that might have caused any kind of problems, there's still success. So we look for, and they're not quitters. So we look for grit. We hear people that are really good workers, and they tell us about, and it could be maybe you're in a family and you hear someone talking about somebody's gone through something like that, and they're doing a really good, or they're looking for a job. You might consider hiring them. So also, when you're interviewing, once you get somebody in, ask the question about what's the most difficult thing that you've ever gone through. And if they can't come up with anything other than showing up for this interview because I had to get up early, then maybe they're not the person for you. So look for those things.
Yeah, I like hearing, and I'm serious about this, and there's always an exception, but I like hearing people say things like, my parents divorced when I was young, yep. Or my dad was really mean to us and I left early, or I dropped out of college. Right. And then went back, or I got my GED because I was stupid and I dropped out of high school. I like hearing tough stories.
Or it took me 6 years to get my first degree. That was mine. It took me 6 years because I couldn't afford to go full-time initially, or I had a scholarship. I lost the scholarship. Then I couldn't afford to go full-time. And I didn't know what I wanted. So each time you change your major, there's, another year on there. So sometimes it takes people a while to figure out what they want to be. So 6 year, that's still, they persevered and they got a degree.
Are you sure the delay wasn't a result of just lack of talent?
It could have been that, and that's probably why I changed my major so many times.
You finally found one.
I finally found one. It was phys ed. So yeah.
So,
as long as I could do jumping jacks.
So you actually started your life as a phys ed teacher, right?
Right. Physical education and special education instructor.
Stint as a realtor, as I understand, and then a registered nurse, and then the HR lady.
I am the HR lady now. Yes. I still like to, every once in a while have somebody come into my office and pull the blinds and say, hey, look at this. Is this something I should worry about?
That's the problem with being a registered nurse, right?
It is.
They'll show you things that otherwise they wouldn't show you.
Yep. You get to see the fun stuff sometimes.
So before we got on live tonight, we were talking about hiring people and finding people, and you brought up how baby boomers are leaving early because they were 1946 to 1964, and they're at about that age where the older ones could retire,
right,
and wait a little while before their Social Security kicks in, but they could go ahead and just call it quits.
Yes.
So I understand a lot of companies are trying to bring them back into the workforce. What can you do to attract them back into the workforce?
I think part-time jobs. A lot of the people, if they're wanting to retire and they're coming out of retirement or considering it, give them a part-time job instead of requiring them to work the late hours or, as you get older, a lot of times require a lot less sleep, or so you get up early in the morning. Let them work the early shift. Let them go home. Give them an extended lunchtime if they want it. Then you've got the things of bring your pets. Let them, if there's an important event, let them go to it. Celebrate them. Back to, the celebrating everybody. Our company does something called birthday pay. And for your birthday's a holiday to us. So we give you birthday pay. It's time and a half for your birthday. So if you work, actually it's double time for your birthday. So if you work on your birthday, you get double time. If you want to take it off, we'll pay you for it. So
if you're working on your birthday, you're paid double time.
Right.
Okay, good.
And if you take your birthday off, I'm still going to pay you for it because it's a holiday. So there's little things like that. And sure, that'll cost you some money, but they're going to look at that and they're going to appreciate that because that's saying to your employees, you're important to me. But also veterans, give veterans pay. Veterans, a lot of times they're getting out of their job. They may not, especially our new veterans, there's some programs that you can get for actually hiring a veteran, and you can get some incentives that way. But they're coming out of that training and positions that they've done, and maybe they don't have the skill set that you need. But they've been through a job where they're required to be in a stricter atmosphere. So they're going to be there on time. They're going to be more likely to complete something. So, veterans might be a good choice too, to advertise for them. Your older veterans, they a lot of times have a better attitude. Some of them do. I don't know about Terry there.
Terry being a veteran.
Yes.
And I think there's a veteran pay benefit, isn't there?
Yes. So pay your veterans on Veterans Day. Tell them you appreciate them. So, do the double time. If they work on Veterans Day, give them double time. Now, I don't recommend letting your veterans off on Veterans Day if you have a large workforce that involves veterans, because then you may not have anybody there for a day. So
yeah, that'd be tough.
Instead, I would offer a double time or extra pay if they're a veteran for that day, and thank them for the service because they have given to our community.
Our engineer's trying to get my attention.
Well, I have a question.
He has a question.
If somebody's given notice and you really feel value in that employee, is it worth trying to get them to stay by offering more money or figuring out is there something you can do to keep them?
So I'll repeat that question to you. If somebody gives notice, is it a good idea to try to save them, to try to sit down and maybe offer them more money or find out why they're leaving and put the effort into saving them?
Yes. Well, actually, I think it depends. I mean, if you gave notice, it's like, yeah, I'll see you later,
yeah,
James.
you'd be like celebrating.
But yeah, don't celebrate too quick.
I just couldn't get a job anywhere else, so I'm going to stay where I'm at.
But absolutely, ask, is there a reason that you're leaving? And maybe, is there anything that I can do to make you want to stay? Is it that our core values don't align? Or is it something you're needing time? Maybe you've had some changes in your family. Your father's come to live with you. You need to work from home. The instances where this friend of mine sent me the text message. These people have started working from home because of the pandemic, and now they're being told that they have to come back in. And some of them have medical conditions. And they're worried about having to come back in and work with people and possibly get sick or die.
Right.
So they don't want to do that. So talk to them. If you value that employee, have an open, honest communication, open, honest conversation, and say, is there something I can do to keep you? And, think about it money-wise. Are you going to be losing? How much are you going to lose? Is it just that person, or is it training a whole new person? Right. Hiring, training, you're looking at months, sometimes years, depending on the position.
Right. Yeah, I think it's been my experience that if people give notice because they've had a bad week, they'll never stop doing that.
Right.
And so you may not be able to save them unless there's some significant change that you can make to their job, to them, some training situation. You're never going to save that person. Mm-hmm. But what you described is, somebody has a change at home, the father-in-law moves in, whatever the case is, and they, for whatever reason, did not talk to you about it.
Right.
They just went looking for a job that could accommodate their new situation.
Right.
I think if you were having those regular meetings, they might have told you.
You would have known that.
But I would say if you feel like they're worth saving, you sit down with them and try to find out what's going on and try to save them.
I would agree with that. And, maybe it's worth it for, to have that pay bump, pay increase. And maybe you can't afford that right off. And so you negotiate something such as instead of a pay increase, maybe it's bonuses based off performance. So an increase in the performance pay.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in performance-based compensation. That's a fact. Hey, Ronald said military people are disciplined, responsible, and reliable. That's been my experience.
I agree.
We love the military people. They make it possible for people like me to sit on my butt and watch TV, while they go out.
While they defend our country.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I am all for veterans. I'm all for military. I have a very large standing in my family. I have a nephew. Actually, I have a couple of nephews, several nieces that have been in the military. I currently have nieces that are in the military. I have my father served in the military. My brother served in the military. So we're we have given back to our country, and I think you should be valued for that.
Yeah. If people don't know it, Susan and I are married. You probably noticed the last names were the same. I thought I'd share something kind of cool since we're talking about the military. The watch I'm wearing right here. This watch is a Universal Geneva, and my dad wore this watch in World War II, as you know.
Wow.
And on the back of it is his name and his serial number in the Navy.
That's cool.
His name and serial number. And one of my hobbies is restoring watches. I'm a hack as a watchmaker. I hate to use that term because real watchmakers are called watchmakers. But I tinker around with watches. I love to restore them. But this watch was once a time all beat up and ugly.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that I wanted to get good enough to restore. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get good enough at watchmaking that I could restore this watch so that it was as close to possible as my dad would have worn it in World War II. And I went so far as to keep the original hands, and I found material to refinish them with from that era. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I couldn't find was a real band from World War II, but I got a new old stock, right. And it does represent probably what it looked like when he wore it. But this watch witnessed a kamikaze attack on his destroyer. He was on the Neil 616, wow. And this watch witnessed a kamikaze attack on that fleet. So
that's awesome. Those are heirlooms to me. Whether it costs, how much it costs, it doesn't matter. But that's priceless because of the story behind it, because of the person behind it, and that connection that you have.
Well, I do plan to sell it so I can get a better TV.
Well, I'm not thinking you're going to get much of a TV for it.
Probably not. Nothing will happen to this thing except give it to my son. Mm-hmm. He can't wait for me to croak so he can get those watches.
Can't wait for all of us to croak.
So we talked about the baby boomers. Is there anything that we can do in our marketing efforts to attract the baby boomers? Say maybe, hey, come out of retirement. I think you were telling me that they're trying to convince nurses to come out of retirement,
absolutely,
offering them a ton of money.
They are. So actually, in our area, Kansas City area, they the main hospitals asked for nurses to come out of retirement, and if they came out of retirement, that they would work them with the shorter shifts, that they could be more versatile with the shifts that they got, that they would pay them more money. And like for the first so long that they worked, they were actually going to pay them twice the salary of what they used to get. Another thing is benefits. Sometimes people just they haven't built up a retirement in a company, and they've changed jobs, or maybe they've had a divorce and they've lost that retirement benefit that they have. And so they're trying to build that retirement back up. So 401k, a nice 401k where you're matching a dollar for dollar amount, or a portion on a dollar. That's a good thing to be offering. And we do that in our company with part-time employees too. So even if you're not a full-time employee, we give that benefit to you. But so that's one of the things that you can offer. When you're advertising for an employee, you can also talk about those things that an older person usually brings to the workforce. If you're on time and that you always you're reliable to a T, that if you show up unless you're dead or in the hospital, then we want you. Because some of those baby boomers, those are the work ethics that they grow up with. That's right. What they're told to do. You have to be there. You have to be on time. You don't miss work. And right. So advertise towards that.
Right.
And
advertise. You have nap time.
Hey, if
we offer nap time.
If they need nap time, if they want, we have massaging chairs. We have nap time. We have a cat that you can sleep with. Advertise it. If you want to,
we have prune juice in the fridge.
Bring your kids to work day. Oh wait, your kids. We've had employees that their kids had to be brought to work with them because they were suspended, or maybe the school was canceled or something else happened, and they've brought their kids. Or, bring for some reason, maybe grandparents end up with the baby for a couple of hours. Bring them in. We'll pass that baby around. We're okay with it as long as you get your job done.
It's weird when you have bring your kid to work day and they bring their kids in and they're 40 and 42.
That was only you that brought them in.
Yeah. So baby boomers, I think that's a good opportunity. I meant to mention earlier about part-time. Most contractors, I think, would never think about a part-time technician, a part-time installer, a part-time demand service tech. But why not? What if somebody came to you and said, I just want to work mornings, or I want to work Mondays and Tuesdays running service? Why not? Give them that van from Monday and Tuesday. Maybe you can find somebody that take that van Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Absolutely.
Maybe they have a friend that does the same type of work. Right. But my thought is I'd rather have that van running only 2 days a week than not have the technician, because their billable gross profit dollars they can generate in those 2 days make it worthwhile to have that van sitting there. And it's not going to sit there. You're going to find a way to use that van.
And the more versatile that you can be, the more of those little perks that you can offer, then the more likely you are to get those people that are wanting to go into retirement, or those people that can't. Maybe there's a life change and they can't do what they used to be able to do. Mm-hmm. That's and maybe that's it. You don't, you can guarantee, maybe it's a service tech, HVAC tech, and you can guarantee you don't have to go into cellars. You don't have to crawl into cellars. No attic work.
No attic work would be nice.
That type of thing, so that those people that maybe they are older, and as we get older, our joints swell. We can't crawl as easily. That heat, we don't handle the temperature in the attics very well. And so advertise that. Hey, you're getting older. You don't want to do this. We're okay with that.
I think one thing I've recommended to a lot of my clients is that you create an accountability chart, or so-called organization chart. I prefer to call it accountability chart. And you know how it works. You have the president and the GM and the department managers and everybody underneath them. You print that thing out about so big, and every position is on the accountability chart. So even if you're the owner and you're the GM and you're the CFO and you're the office manager and the service manager, you can put the same name on there multiple times. And what you tell people is, if you see the same name more than once, that position's going to be available to somebody in the company.
Right.
And that gets to what you said, I think, early in this conversation, and that is people leave because they don't see an opportunity to advance.
Right.
And that would show them there's an opportunity to advance. And another way, correct me if I'm wrong, but another way of looking at advancement, at least for me personally, is, do I know more than I did yesterday? Do I know more than I did Friday? And as you know, that I have to answer yes to that.
Right.
I have to know more tomorrow than I did today, or I'm not a happy guy. So maybe you could think about the accountability chart. Again, every possible title is on the chart, even if it's all you. And you tell everybody, if you see a name twice, that's a position that's available to you. You just have to prove that you could handle it.
Right. That's a fantastic thing, and make that organization chart available to everybody in your company. Put it in your employee manual at the very front of the employee manual. Here's our current organization chart. That way, everybody knows these are the people that I go to, and if they have issues, they can say, "Oh, this is my boss. This is their boss. This is where I go."
What final things do you have that you would like to share with our field service contractors out there as far as keeping people, getting people?
I would say it was something I didn't talk about, which might be a good thing, is Indeed. I use Indeed for trying to get people to work. And the cool thing about Indeed is if you change the names of the position slightly, you can post the same position. And instead of having to pay for it to jump yourself to the top, you can actually put a new position up and it jumps you to the top. So try to, think of those things, thinking outside the box on advertising. Post in your local, there's all of these county shops and on Facebook and things like that. Post on Facebook. If you have a position that's open and you have social media, post on the social media. Us old people, I say Facebook because I'm old and I know Facebook. And but our younger kids might use, Twitter. Or, they might make a tweet about it.
I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm so much younger than you. But I kind of get what you mean.
But also, so when you're hiring, you look at that and the different ways to do it. We did have somebody tell us that he looked younger than me the other day.
I
like,
love that person.
Whatever. I hate that person, and I'm not talking to them anymore. But anyway, in order to...
I was going to say, we have a question from Steve, who is Vice President of Indeed. He wanted you to tell him how to do that again, how to get the free thing.
Yeah, Steve, I'm not really sure. I didn't talk about that, but some of these other companies you might be able to do the same thing on.
Getting back to social media, one thing that I've had good luck with is posting in my neighborhood's Facebook page. Our Homes Association has a Facebook page, and oftentimes we post in there, and a person will know a person who knew a person. But, one of the best, I hate to say like one of the best because everybody's awesome that I work with, but one of the best people we have came from that Facebook post in my Homes Association page. So you never know,
Yeah,
you could try it for a year. If you get one person out of it, it was well worth the post.
Yeah. So recommendations, be flexible. Be as flexible as you can. Be open, be honest, have regular meetings, have regular evaluations with your employees. Pay fairly. Research the market. If you're not paying fairly, you're not going to keep that employee. So research the market, see where it's at. Offer bonuses. If you can't afford to pay that salary right up front, offer a bonus, quarterly bonuses. Maybe it could be payroll bonuses every payroll. Based off of certain performances that they do. If they sell something, you give them a kickback on it. In addition to that, let them, bring their pet. If they want to have their pet in the truck, let them have, and it doesn't hurt anybody, let them have it. Free food. Remember, free food. People like food. So, even in our kitchen, we have a full kitchen in our our place of employment here. But we have a cabinet that says, forgot your lunch, don't have food, help yourself to this. And everything in that cabinet is for anybody that doesn't have their lunch. It could be peanut butter that's in there. It can be it can be something as simple as a soup or ramen noodles or anything that somebody can quickly and easily eat. We keep in that, maybe cereal bars. And then also with remember the lunches, you can send a breakfast, or you can sit to recognize them and working outside of the regular hours. You could give them a gift card, or you can give the breakfast bag that they can pick up. Your donuts and your coffee, those are easy things. But communication is key, and also giving them the time that they need to do personal errands, personal things that they might have to do. If you're taking care of their father or whatever it is, and be flexible. Don't think that, this is the only, these are the only hours that they can have. If you can hire a part-time person and get 2 part-time people to come in and do the job of 1 full-time person, and you can't get that full-time person, then go ahead and do those. Maybe, those part-time people are coming in, our older workforce, and they need insurance. So maybe you talk to your insurance agent and see if you can offer insurance to them quicker than 90 days. Maybe a lot of our places now are actually offering to pay the employee on day 1. They pay 100% of their insurance on day 1. Most of those companies don't pay for any portion of the family, but offer to pay for a portion of the family. 50%. I pay 100% of you and 50% of your family, or whatever you want to divide it up on. But insurance is a big deal. Something I didn't mention was your wellness plans. So people now, everybody has a fitness watch, and they're calculating how their sleep scores are, and they're walking, and I barely got a walk in today. So give bonuses for that, and buy a wellness watch. Say, I'll pay up to $200 for you to have one of those, and for every so many steps, I'll give you a bonus. We have a real easy bonus plan with that. So if anybody's interested in that, you can contact us, and I would be willing to hand that out for people if you've heard it on the show. But easy things, just help them. Tell people that you're interested in them. Show that you're interested in them. Mm-hmm. We have Beer 30. So any day after work, for our people that work in the office, any day at 3:30, if you've had such a bad day that you need a drink, now I'll give you a beer, or I'll give you a wine cooler, or you can have a glass of wine. That's only one.
At 3:30.
At 3:30. Now, you can't drink past 4, because I need you to be at least an hour before you go home of not drinking, so that I'm not liable for your wreck whenever you leave.
So 1 beer at 3:30.
1 beer at 3:30.
How much could that hurt?
Yeah, popcorn machine. We have a popcorn machine. You can buy one on Facebook Marketplace for $100. One of those cool popcorn machines, and go to Sam's Club and buy popcorn. You can have Popcorn Friday. People love this type of thing. Snow cone machine. Have a snow cone. You can do anything.
People love coffee. Get a great coffee maker.
Yeah. Or a Keurig. And they can have hot, fresh coffee at any point. But just make sure that you have somebody there that's going to stock it for you. Assign one employee to stock that for you, or take turns on it, so that you don't think you're out of coffee.
I wrote something down earlier that I was going to get in if we had time. When I was teaching a seminar recently, a technician came up to me, and the class was how to double your service parts, or how to double your service revenue, a diagnostic approach. So anyway, a technician came up to me and said, I really liked what you said about core values. In our company, one of the core values is all about efficiency, saving electricity, saving the environment, putting out less pollution, etc. And he told me that he isn't sure that those are real, that it's just he thinks the boss is trying to sell more stuff. And I tried to assure him that probably wasn't the case. And then he interrupted me and said, they don't even recycle. They don't recycle anything. They just throw everything in the trash. Why? If they don't recycle, then do they really care about high efficiency? And
Right.
I didn't have much of an answer for them.
Yeah.
And that's why the core values are so important. But if you don't live them,
Yeah.
leave it off the list
Absolutely.
because they'll notice.
Yeah.
You know,
they
my
will.
mom used to say to me, do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work.
It
Doesn't work.
It doesn't
So
work at all.
I want everybody to think about those core values. They need to be real, and you have to live them. Any final words?
Just try to. This is an employees market, not an employer's market. An employees market. Treat your employees that treat them like they're a valuable commodity, because they are, and ask for their input. Review with them. Let them know. Communicate. If I could just give one key thing to make your employees be more valuable to you, or wanting to, or if I could just give one thing to keep an employee, one word of advice, I would say communicate.
Better communication.
Better communication. So
I would agree. Open, honest, forthright communication. Tell it like it is, politely.
right, and ask for the same thing.
Well, we do these every Thursday night, 7 p.m. We broadcast live. As you can tell, we record these, so it'll be on YouTube for you to listen to and watch later. We also turn these into podcasts, so we'll be making these into podcasts very soon, and you'll be able to download those to your favorite podcast app and hopefully catch us at another time. Susan, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. You didn't get paid, but you are going to get one of these awesome coffee cups.
Oh my gosh, I have wanted one of those for so long.
Each guest gets one.
All right.
And you will get yours.
I'm going to start drinking coffee just for this.
I put water in mine, but whatever.
Me too.
Thank you very much for being on. I hope to see you guys next week, Thursday. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.